Very good.
Tinder.
Well, Phil has given me the dubious honour of writing a wedding speech, so you all now have the dubious honour of listening to it. Indeed, there are many reasons why I thought Phil would never marry such a beautiful, charming woman like Shirley. As many of you know, Phil worked at Shape Health Studios back in the late 80s. And I signed up for one of his aerobics classes. So here was this blonde-haired, blue-eyed young man. He was dancing up and down on the stage wearing very, very tight shorts. In front of a lot of similar tired men. However, we got chatting after the session and he told me a bit about his life, about his fondness for hanging around in bars and going to saunas. He seemed like a nice chap and we got on, so I suggested we went for a drink. Can you imagine my surprise when I actually found out that he moved to Brighton for the women? Then of course, there are many other reasons why Phil should not be here today. And let me give you a taster of some of his exploits. In 1982, he sailed from the UK in a schooner bound for Australia. He didn't get very far and was shipwrecked just off the coast of the Bay of Biscay, and he nearly drowned. He lost everything and had to be repatriated to the UK without a passport.
You were leaning on the wire, mate.
Oi, John, it's your fault.
He lost everything and had to be repatriated to the UK without a passport. Luckily for him, we had left the EU at this point, and they reluctantly let him back in. Deciding that sailing was not dangerous enough, he took up flying, and in a single-engine Cessna, he managed to mistime a return journey to Shoreham Airport. Finding the airport had closed for the night, he had no option but to make his way to Gatwick, desperately low on fuel. Now, Michael Leary read about this near miss, and in a bid to persuade Phil not to pilot the plane again, he started Ryanair. However, Philip ignored Ryanair's idea and had yet another near-death experience over Courchevel in the Alps. He was flying a twin-engine plane and one of the engines failed. Now, Stelios Haji, the famous Greek entrepreneur, read about this, and yet in another attempt to persuade Phil not to fly again, he started EasyJet. Now, of course, Phil was getting bored with flying at this point, so he thought he'd try something a little safer. Off-piste snowboarding. All was going well until he fell into a crevasse in Austria. Luckily, the board jabbed sideways as he fell in, otherwise he would have dropped to his death. Cursing like a trooper, he unhooked his boots and he climbed out, leaving the board behind. And as we've come to expect, he blamed his equipment and swore never to buy that brand of snowboard again. Talking of mountains, Phil also got severe altitude sickness just below the Everest base camp. But his life was saved by a French doctor who injected him with something. Clearly, this wasn't common sense, as he decided to continue his trek up the mountain. So, returning to his first love, the sea, he managed to lose both his rig and his windsurf board in rough seas near the entrance to Shoreham Harbour and swam to shore just before the harbour arm started to sweep him, narrowly avoiding getting crushed to death. However, in a bid to make sure that the journey was not wasted, he stuffed a couple of sea bream down his wetsuit for the gallery to cook for him. And finally, once kite surfing in the dark, he didn't see a dangerous squall creeping up on him and got caught up on it. The quick release mechanism for his kite failed, and he was physically lifted from the beach over the top of his house and dumped unceremoniously on the other side. He flew so high, in fact, Shoreham Airport radioed him and asked him for flight plan, as did Shirlys and Michael Leary. Now, of course, we all know that Phil is a deeply religious man. And perhaps because of his love of prayer, this is why he's lived so long. We know this because whenever he gets into trouble, he closes his eyes and shouts, "Oh my God, not again!" You all now know that Phil's reputation as a daredevil has spread far and wide. For example, whenever I go skiing and I buy my ski pass, they always ask me if I'd like insurance. Then they see I'm with Phil, and they say, "Ah, you're with him? Oh, yes, you'll definitely need insurance." Big double. So when I look back at my friendship with Phil, I don't wonder how our friendship survived so long. I just wonder how Phil's survived so long. But now to Shirley, the beautiful, intelligent, witty, sporty Shirley. And boy, can she get them all. The girl that fell for Phil, the girl that fell for Phil, and the only person I know who can outwalk and outtalk Phil. He has truly met his perfect match. Shirley knows she's found Mr. Right, and Phil knows he has found Miss Always Right. Shirley has learned a valuable lesson to take into married life, having lived with Phil for so long. She knows that a good wife always forgives her husband when she's wrong. Phil has realised the joy she brings him and wants to keep her safely by his side, which is more than can be said of his windsurfer, his snowboard, his kite surfer, and his ship. So, to finish off this speech, I've written a little poem to mark this joyous occasion. There was a kite surfer called Phil, whose dates never fitted the bill. For with a surname like Worley, surely marry a Shirley. And if he don't kill himself first, then he will.